be very, very quiet. Hiding here behind me is a pipe, tube and flat bar bender. You'll notice that in its natural environment it blends in very well. It's either trying to look like a pile of raw materials or it's trying to look like a broom handle. Very heavily camouflaged in its natural environment. G'day, I'm Greg and welcome to the shed. To build the young bloke's go-kart I need a pipe slash tube bender. I'd also like a flat bar bender. So I've been looking at a few designs, and while it'd be nice and quick and easy to just go and buy a tube bender off the shelf or a pipe bender, I really want to make a bit of a universal type gizmo, so it will kind of sort of be okay at everything, but it's not going to be fantastic at anything. Basically, you can't have anything, you can't build something that's fantastic at everything, because if we did, we'd only need one piece of kit for the entire workshop. So what we'll do is we'll knock something up which will probably bend to about maybe 2.5 or 3 inch OD, potentially. Whether it'll be strong enough to do that or not, I don't know. We'll make a couple of allowances in it so that we can put a ratchet type jacking system on it later on if I want to. Initially we'll just start with the long, with a long bit of tube, hence the long bit of golf tube there, a bit of scaff pole if you want to call it that. So we'll use that to get a bit of leverage on it. I might be able to put a piece of 3 inch exhaust tube in it, or 2.5 inch exhaust tube, something like that, and run a radius with that. The idea there is that I'll be able to bend multiples of radius. You know, if you look at a piece of 3 inch tube, 3 inch or 3 times diameter, so that's a 9 inch radius plus etc, etc. All of a sudden you're starting to look at fair length in the arms, and they're going to obviously have to be reasonably robust, and it takes a fair bit of force to bend that sort of tubing. It's unlikely my scrawny little arms will bend that. I'll probably bend a few other things before that, like there'll probably be a few bent muscles in my back. But yeah, look, that's probably getting a bit carried away, but what it will also mean is that I can put a piece of 75 by 5 flat bar in there and lean on that, because it'll be deep enough. You know, a piece of 75 by 10 with a bit of heat, maybe. So yeah, we're a little bit loose in the design at this stage, and fortunately we have that ability to be a little bit loose in the design at the stage, because later on I'll show you a few of the plans, different plans that I've been looking at, and a few of my thoughts. I want to be able to go and bend a bit of flat bar without getting too carried away. Whether I want to do a radius bend, or I say radius bend, like a scroll type, a large radius, you can't see, a large radius bend, say 90 degrees around the outside of a die, or I just want to do a square bend, a square 90 degree bend with a short radius, I don't know, and there'll be a bit of suck it and see going there. I've got a lump of, I think it's 50 mil square, or it might be 40 mil square, 1045, sitting next door, which we might put an offset hole in, put a couple of different radiuses on it, on the edge, on the corners, and use that for bending square dies. This will be obviously multiple videos. It's going to drag on a bit. The VBot project is going to go on hold for a little bit, for the simple reason that we're summer now, and I really want to make up some case hardening powder, some out of charcoal, and a couple of other little ingredients which we'll show you, and we'll case harden it. But that will progress. I haven't forgotten about that. I know there's a lot of people interested in it. Power hacksaw is working now. You should see that video before you see this one. It still needs some work, but it's doing the job. Hopefully it keeps doing the job, because I don't want to cut all this stuff by hand. The other thing about this bender is I want to make it a bit universal. Yeah, I know. I'm hearing you already. What I want to do is the bender will drop onto a universal base or a universal stand, depending on how you want to look at it. And I want to be able to put some hammer and dolly stuff on top, because there's often cases where I just want to fold something over an edge with a hammer, or I'm straightening something out and I want a flat surface to work on. So there's a couple of things like that I need to deal with, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make up a universal stand, which bolts down to an existing bolt pattern that I have, or bolt pattern, same basic thing in real terms, that I have. And what that will let me do is I'll be able to take off my manual tyre changer, get that out of the way, be able to drop this in its place. Once this is in its place, well, then I'll be able to get in there and do my thing. The other thing about it too is I need to make sure it doesn't fill up with water, otherwise it'll rust out and I'll twist it off at the bottom, so I'll have to make up a little cap for it, which, well, it's not rocket science, but we still need to make it. So there'll be a couple of things of interest. We'll have to find some material to make some nice round, I suppose you call them animals for want of a better way of putting it, but some nice round stuff for beating up on top of, and we'll have to make a couple of domes and bits and pieces for that as well. So this is going to be a fairly extended project overall, so it'll be done in bits and pieces, and this is me with an itch. It'll be done with bits and pieces, and it'll be disjointed, unfortunately. And in amongst that, when I get a time, I've got to set the lathe and the mill up again, got to level them off, so there'll probably be a couple of videos on that. And we'll talk about why we level the lathe off. There's been a few inquiries about that. And with a bit of luck, I'll catch up with Bruce with them, and a couple of other YouTubers, JB from Oz and that, in the next couple of days, because we all live not that far away. We're probably an hour away from each other, so we'll catch up and have a meals, and then I'll fly out again on Wednesday. So it says me as I sit here making this on Saturday. So yeah, I'll turn you off. I'll grab some stuff, we'll have a bit of a look at it, and we'll have a bit of a discussion, and hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So, this one here is the basis for what I'm working at. Now, I haven't got the web page for this, and I can't remember where it came from, because it's quite some time since I did it, but I think if you search DIY bench top tubing bender ! You will probably find it. It's pretty simple. It's got a good materials list and some details, good instructions. It's got full set of dimensions in inches. There's a number of good pictures and descriptions, and I'm not going to get too carried away with going through every page of this, but there's a bit of shadow there. Hopefully you can see that a bit better. Yeah, the drawings and the dimensions are adequate. Says me who hasn't built it yet, and I'm not going to build it exactly anyway, because I'm going to take some pieces out of this, and you'll see there's the exploded view, parts list, advertising for somebody off the web page, even instructions on how to bolt it together. Uses a couple of bits of PFC. And there you go. There's the assembled tube bender. So that's the basis for what I was thinking, and I just put it on top of the power hacksaw. Now, funnily enough, what I have here is a flat bar bender. Now, you'll quite quickly see that there are a number of similarities, namely F there is some PFC and A and C and B and D, and that all look quite familiar. So I'll just flick through here. Again, a lot of the drawings, these drawings here are very well detailed, even if they are in inches, that's fine. Some of us know how to use a calculator. Others, I'll put it the right way up. Others of us can actually calculate stuff manually, but we're too lazy to do it, so we use our phones. So you'll see that there's a few more drawings. The quality of these pictures aren't very good. These might have come out of one of the engineering books many years ago. But one of the beauties of this is that, here we go, we're bending flat bar. There's instructions here on how to make a wheel, how to bend flat bar and work your way around and make a wheel. So there you go, got your loop. Here's a plate. You put it on your plate and away you continue from there. So there's even instruction on how to make the plate. So we'll get to the end. There's a wheel with a series of spokes in it and a hub. And if you want to really get carried away, you can even build a little cart to go with it. So that said, what you will notice is the distinct similarities between that and that. They're very close cousins, or but they're brother and sister, depending on how you want to look at it. So that's two that I'm drawing stuff from. There's a third one here which has come from the same website as that flat bar bender. And surprise, surprise, it's a very or copy of a pipe bender, and it will show you some of the stuff you can do with it. And for those of you who know what we're about, it gets very long-winded, my description is, but this one's pretty simple. It's got a few features in it which the other one didn't have. Namely, we've got an adjustable guide here, and we use a flat die instead of a wheel. So building these making these flat dies is not as easy as making a wheel. Making a wheel is enough of a challenge on its own, because we've got to get the radiuses to match the pipe diameters. And when I say the radius, we're talking the half moon radius, not the bend radius. So we've still got to do that. We've got to get that right. So there's quite a few things in here which are useful. How to make your adjustable stop. But again, this is another one that I'm drawing a little bit of inspiration from. There's a couple of things in here which I'm going to which I'll probably use or make allowance for future editions. They go into how to make your dies. Even how to make them from hardwood. Which, if you're doing tubes, making from hardwood is quite okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But what they do say is you make it from hardwood, but you still use steel plates on the side, so that it use steel plates and you weld a steel bush in it. So, which if you're doing one or two bends or half a dozen bends, I'm listening to the chooks. Gives you the formers. Gives you some pipe diameters, 12.5, 20, 25, so we say half inch, 3/4, 1 inch nominally. Former radius before being grooved, so we've got a 65, 90 and 115mm radius. Side plate radiuses, bolt pitch circles, so it gives you this information for making your own formers. So figure wall pipe can be bent to a slightly smaller radius. Formers of a larger radius could be made for any size of pipe required, corresponding to the side plates, yada yada yada. More durable former, you can make it out of steel. So what they're talking about here is you cut a piece of pipe in half, then bend it round the former that you made, and then you weld it in, and you've got a more durable former. So how to make your die, that's actually rather interesting. So making those straight dies isn't that difficult when you actually look at it. No screws involved, use a welder. How to mount it to your bench top. And a bit of instruction on how to use it. Now, I found this stuff just searching, as we do, on Google. So I can't criticise our mates at Google too much. And then we've got this one here, which is metal bender. There's a lot of pages in this one, but basically, this is probably the best bender. There's a lot of things about it I like. There's a couple of things I don't like. Putting these joggles in. Yes, it's nice. Yes, it makes it look really pretty. I can't be bothered. I'd rather come up with a solution that involves 90-degree angles and a welder. This doing 45-degree stuff, it makes it look pretty, makes it look professional, and yeah, look, in all honesty, it's probably better in a lot of ways. But when we look at it, we really only have an effective length back to your bend. To your bend, you might be able to get something in here, a little bit, but why not just go square here, or go back to here, because you can use this whole length, put a piece of flat bar in there to hold it, and make all of this full depth square. That's my thoughts. One of the good things about doing this sort of stuff though, is what it does is it makes you develop skills. You know, I could heat it up with the gas, I could put the bends in it, you can do all that, I could do that. The question is, do I want to spend the time doing it? And as you're well aware, time is an issue for me. So there's a number of things here. This is a very good bender. There's no arguments at all about it. It's a very good piece of kit for bending. So what we'll do is we'll continue the. Just flicking through here to show you if there's anything else. Basically, there's a lot of drawings and a lot of machining, and there's a lot of stuffing around. I say stuffing around, it's probably not the right way of putting it. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done, which will add significant value to it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass on that at the moment, but I will point out a couple of things. There's this large die here for if you want to bend flat bar and scrolls and radiuses and that sort of stuff. And there's a list of suggested radii on the side, and there's also some other formers that they talk about, again for working with flat bar. So that said, universal type wheels, V-groove roller. Unfortunately, it doesn't give you an included angle in there, not that I can see. I'd say it's probably about 120 degrees looking at it. So, but one of the things that is good on this is it does have a circle gauge. And I want a circle gauge. I want a gauge. The problem with the gauge is that this one's bent out of a piece of flat bar. Made out of a piece of 1¼ inch by 1/4. And it's rolled in a circle. Edge on. Which until you get your bender built, it's a bit of a challenge. So yeah, enough waffling on the introduction. We'll start doing some work. What I haven't got on this hacksaw is a dimension from the end of the jaw to where we cut the end of the vise, so it looks like it's 3/4 of an inch, so it's 19 mil. 3/4 of an inch. Cool. Now, it hasn't been used today, so we give it, there's the remnants of oil lubricator there. We'll give it a bit of a drink here. We'll give it a drink there. Yep, I filled that up. We'll give it a drink here. We'll fill up the oil wicks here. And here. And I'll give this one a drink. And we'll give that one there a drink. That one doesn't hold oil, so we've got a bush that's a bit average. We'll give the pump a bit of lubrication. Giving that a squirt, giving that a squirt. Right. Cool. Lift him up a bit. We might plug the power lead in. Now I'm going to take him off the stop. There we go. And we'll just jog him. You hear those particularly noisy bearings there? And we'll give a bit of a squirt up in there. And a squirt in there. That's what happens when your teeth are too tight. The down feed's a bit fast and the teeth are a bit coarse. Fortunately, I don't think I've got any adjustment on the down feed pressure. first time it's turned itself off automatically. Alright, so lessons in power hacksaws. Lessons in saws. When you've got thin walls, you want lots of teeth. When you've got thick surfaces, you want very few teeth. The problem with this is I can't adjust the down feed on it because it really wants to be taking a lot less when it's going down the walls, but hey, we didn't break anything, and that's the beauty. That's a good thing. No one got hurt, that's a good thing. Mr. Bozo tried to visit, and he certainly annoyed us a bit, but we got away with it. We haven't damaged anything, we haven't broken anything. What I did see, part of the problem here is that this is, well, actually, there's one good thing that really came out of this. This is a problem with this type of machine vise, and it applies to shapers as well, and that's probably the best example I've seen of it in some time. Hopefully it'll show up on the video. The moving jaw is loaded in the direction of tool cut. What does it do? It moves. It moves a lot because it's got to carry the entire cutting load. The number of people I see that talk about putting your vise isn't right on the shaper, well, yeah, I beg to differ. I think a vise on the shaper, the fixed jaw, if you're going to cut with a vise on a shaper, the fixed jaw should be the one that's furthest away from the cutting tool, so you cut to the fixed jaw. Because otherwise all you're always doing is you're trying to lean your moving jaw over, and that's what happened on here. And you see that it was pushing the moving jaw away, which inherently by its very nature is prone to movement. The bolts that hold the nut down on this are one stripped and the other's not very good. I wonder why. Would it have anything to do with the fact that you've got 2 3/8 bolts carrying all the saw loads all of the time, every stroke? Maybe not, if you pay attention to what other people think. Personally, I think it is. So, it's just my thoughts, my rant, my rave. But anyway, what we have now is we have a piece of 75mm patio tube, 2.5mm I think it is, wall thickness. It's a bit of leftover that I've had kicking around for, yeah, time period measured in decades. So it's already had a base plate welder on it, which you can see we've got 4 holes there, which are too small, so we're going to extend that and stiffen it up. And it's 600mm long from the base plate to the top. The 6mm base plate is a bit thin, but we'll put a couple of braces in it and stiffen it up. As I said, we're going to stiffen it up, put a couple of braces in it, and yeah, we'll now continue with the next bit.